Sadly, the chill woman tends to get ghosted a lot, and she doesn't understand why, because she feels good that she's like a good communicator, but she still tends to get ghosted and doesn't know why. Sometimes the chill woman tends to have sex pretty quickly after meeting someone, even though she might promise herself that either she's not going to do it or she can handle it, but she ends up catching feelings in the end. And like, y'all, I raise my hand to every single aspect of this. So you're not alone, right? Nothing is bad. It just is. She tends to attract men who just want to hang out and chill, not much commitment, not much direction. And she normally says yes to this because she really wants that attention and she craves that attention. In her past relationships, her main complaint was that she is not being seen or heard.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Flip Your Mindset. I am your host, Stacey Uhrig, and the guest today is Lily Bruy. And listen, Lily's been here before. This is not her first rodeo. She was on with us prior. And Lily is a dating coach, but the reason why I had Lily on and why I continue to have her on is because she is a coach that coaches on how to date and how to connect with people on a relationship that level through a trauma-informed lens. She's familiar with attachment theory. She's familiar with internal family systems. She utilizes things like polyvagal theory, which are all things that I work on with my clients, but more through a relationship piece. And I love that. So today what we're going to do is we're going to dive into what Lily likes to call female dating archetypes. And let's just dive right into it. So Lily, what is a dating archetype?
Well, thanks again for having me, Stacey. I know this conversation is going to be amazing because it was last time. And if you're listening and this is the first time that you're hearing that Stacey and I get together, my suggestion is for you to pause it, go back and listen to the last one, because the last one is a lot of foundational stuff that really isn't going to make a lot of sense probably today. So that's my suggestion. And the feminine dating archetypes was this kind of, people say download. God gave this to me in showing how, number one, we are not alone in our dating experience. I feel like if we're in this pattern of attracting unavailable people in our lives, if we're in this pattern of constantly abandoning ourselves on the inside, sacrificing ourselves, being somebody that we're not to try to get attention and affection. If we go to our friends and our family, at least this was my experience and a lot of my clients' experience, if we go to our friends and their family, it's like they don't really understand the struggles that we have when we consistently see divorce after divorce or failed relationship after failed relationship. And so the advice that we get is just go have fun and just go be yourself. And I know if Stacey, I don't know if you're on the same level or if you know people like this, but I know that if you are at all like me and you're listening and someone gives you the advice to just go have fun or just go be yourself, you do not know how to do that in an aligned and secure way, right?
I have someone that's in my mind that is when I say that to her, I can see the complete shutdown in her. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I get it. That's not safe. That doesn't feel secure. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And when like back in the day when I was, and we'll talk about these different archetypes and the phases, but when I was in for example, the chill woman phase, if my friend, I had multiple friends just going and telling me, oh, you're too deep, just go have fun. And when Lily went out to have fun, basically that meant is not speaking up for her needs and her wants and desires. It was going and giving my body as kind of a, what's the word? Like like an agreement for affirmation or validation or love, right?
Yeah.
And so like for us that have, probably some history in the past of some trauma or abuse or what have you, this just does not work. And so as I started to look back on my experience and I started to heal and get to the next level, I started to see my clients go through these same archetypes, and sometimes they're phases. sometimes there are archetypes that we can get stuck in. And then I combined everything that we just talked about. We talked about in the first episode, which is attachment theory, polyvagal theory, the internal family systems, all of the things that were foundational modalities in my healing and my clients' healing after so many hours of coaching women through this. God was like, God's like, this is a very specific way that women are experiencing dating. And I love the archetypes because it shows women that they are not alone in their experience and that there is opportunity for better. Because when we feel stuck in something, and I'm sure a lot of the same people that you work with, Stacey, or a lot of the same people that I work with, is that, when we know that we want better, but we can't seem to get better, there has to be some kind of model or some kind of method or path forward of people that have walked that in the past. And really, that's what the feminine dating archetypes are.
So can you share, are there specific types?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's break it down. I want to make your time useful.
Yeah, let's go.
So get the backstory at the other episode.
Okay, cool. So anyone that's listening can go take the quiz. It takes about 2 minutes. It's at datingarchetype.com. The first archetype that I was in for decades, up until like 2018 probably, is the chill woman. The chill woman. So the chill woman is super familiar with overwhelm and anxiety in dating inside of herself. It tends to flare up in the span of like 24, 48, 72 hours after not hearing from the other person. If we're talking about apps, or we're talking about randomly meeting people in the grocery store or wherever, whatever is happening. Sadly, the chill woman tends to get ghosted a lot, and she doesn't understand why, because she feels good that she's like a good communicator, but she still tends to get ghosted and doesn't know why. Sometimes the chill woman tends to have sex pretty quickly after meeting someone, even though she might promise herself that either she's not going to do it or she can handle it, but she ends up catching feelings in the end. And like, y'all, I raise my hand to every single aspect of this. So you're not alone, right? Nothing is bad. It just is. She tends to attract men who just want to hang out and chill. Not much commitment, not much direction. And she normally says yes to this because she really wants that attention and she craves that attention. In her past relationships, her main complaint was that she is not being seen or heard. And she really wants to know deep down that people and men are going to be there and not leave. Here's, if you're identifying with any of the chill woman aspects, to heal, this is what the chill woman, in my opinion, needs to look at, is her boundaries within herself and with other people, her energy, her time, everything like that. The healing aspects for her are to see, hear, and understand herself on the inside is the very first thing, so she can understand her needs and her wants and desires. So that's the chill woman.
I love that. And I actually, here's the thing. If somebody identifies with the chill woman, let it be clear, as Lily just said, that they need to get connected with their needs, their wants, and their desires are. I can't count how many women sit on the couch across from me and say, I don't know how to answer that question. I don't know what my needs are. I don't know what my wants are. I don't know what I like, because I've deprioritized myself my whole life. I've always put everybody else's needs ahead of mine. As a matter of fact, I had one client once, and I love her to death. She'll laugh if she hears this because she'll know it's her. She said to me, I said in our first session, using 3 words, describe yourself to me. And the first thing she said was, I am super go with the flow. And then I don't remember what she said after that, but that one hit. And I leaned in and I said, I loved hearing everything you had to say. I heard you say this, and that you are easy going, go with the flow. She goes, yeah, I really am. And I was like, is it really that you're easy going, go with the flow, or you just don't have the voice or the opinion because you're afraid it's going to be wrong? She was like, shit.
That's good.
Wait, what?
That's good.
And I think it just like gave her a different lens to see it through. And I said, it can be one or the other. I'm just curious. But it did hit with her. And it was a situation where she realized that she had been deprioritizing self for so long that she was so afraid to not be a part of, right? Not be a part of the greater whole, maybe fearing some abandonment, fearing some rejection, that whatever it is that she wanted wasn't going to matter. She wanted to make sure that everybody else was happy so she could still be part of the group, right? So I use a lot of different resources from different therapists. Etsy is like an amazing resource for coaches who want to have like great handouts and worksheets and don't have the time. And so this woman, Miss Psychologist or Miss Psychotherapist, I can't remember, but she makes all this great material. And I bought a bunch of it. And one of the things is a needs assessment. And so I laminated it and I have these little expo markers and I give it to my clients that don't know what it is that they want or what they like or what they need. And as soon as I put it in front of them, or I'll do it on a Zoom screen, and they now can pick from a list of, it is so much easier for them to be like, no, I do need this. And this is really important to me. And this is actually really important to me. I just never express it. I'm so afraid to express it. Right. So it's really important for people that are listening to this. You know, if you're thinking about working with Lily, or if you're thinking about getting to the root cause of why you're having dating issues, understanding your needs is so crucial. But I want you to hear that if you were to share with a well trauma informed person that you don't know what it is that you need or want or like, that will make sense to them.
Absolutely.
That will make sense to them. No one's going to say to you, what do you mean? Of course, you know what you need or what you want or what you like. We're trained enough to know that if you've been an extreme people pleaser, a non-boundary setter, you've been deprioritizing yourself, that language is going to make a lot of sense to us. And there's no judgment. It's just a data point.
Yeah. And there's no right answer.
And there's no right answer. There's no right answer.
And that's hard.
Yeah, usually. Okay, so we've got the chill woman archetype. Check. Give me another one.
Check. So moving on to the fortress woman. So the fortress woman has a wall like the size of the Great Wall of China around her heart. This woman has been hurt by love before, and the only way to defend her heart is to not let someone in. And I talk about dating and relationships, but this can be anything. This can be friends, this can be family, this can be money, job, whatever it is. So it is hard if a fortress woman is listening to me talk about this. I know how hard this is for you to hear. And because I know that you feel like that you're fine. My job is not to convince, and I don't think it, like what I know about you, Stacey, I think it's the same thing. It's not my job to convince you that you want to date or need love. So let me just say that. But I know that you feel like you're fine alone and on your own. I remember when I was a fortress woman, I would put on my vision board a big ass mansion with 1 million rooms, a nice, beautiful setup with like 5,000 dogs. And I was just going to be okay. Dogs and cats and animals, and I was going to be okay, which I was. And there's no question about that. If the fortress woman is dating, she finds fault with the other person really, really quickly, and very critical. She has a hard time trusting others. She's normally the first one to break it off, block, or delete, especially on the apps. Like, for example, when I was a fortress woman and I was on the apps and dating, grammar. If they didn't put the comma in the right place, if they didn't spell things correctly, then it was done, off. And I'm not saying that you should not do this. I'm telling you about my experience in particular. But it's interesting how quickly I was to judge someone and not give them a chance to show me who they were, right? There is a part of her with the fortress woman that does not want to be alone, but there is a stronger part that just does not want to feel the pain that she has felt in the past. The opportunity for the fortress woman to heal is not about convincing yourself or saying affirmations in the mirror or writing a gratitude list about why you need love and why you deserve love. The opportunity to heal is the vulnerability inside of yourself. Be vulnerable inside of yourself, looking inside of yourself for that pain, the root of that pain, what those parts are scared that's going to happen again. It's a lot about self-trust and a lot about learning how to listen to your intuition so that you pick the right people this time to spend your time, your energy, and open your heart to. So that's a fortress woman.
First of all, I can think of a lot of people who fit into this archetype. You know who you are. And if you know me and I know you, you know who you are.
So funny.
And you describe them so well. It's like you've met them. Here's a question I have. Can you have a blend of archetypes? Because I'm hearing you say, at one point I was a chill woman. At one point I was the fortress woman. And maybe we can be different ones at different times, but are we ever blended?
Oh, yeah.
With archetypes at the same time?
Great question. Yes, because one of the foundational principles of the way that I work is that your love life and the problems that you're having in your love life is not really you. It's not you. It's not your highest self. It's just a part of you that is screaming to heal. And so if we can think of these, and if you are picking the wrong person, it's not you that's picking. It's the wounded part that's picking the wrong people. That's and we all know, because we're trauma informed here and the previous episode, that parts of us are really not us. They're just parts that have been fractured from us based off of our experience. And so, yes, to answer your question, we can see different aspects of ourselves in these different archetypes, but typically during an experience, a period of time, a relationship, maybe even with different people, there is going to be one, same kind of with attachment styles. There is going to be one that leads and is kind of like the leader in that process.
I say it's the one that's driving the bus.
Exactly.
And by the way, your authentic self's like bound, gagged, and tied in the trunk.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. We've got 2 archetypes. Can you give me another one?
Yep. So the next one is the goddess woman. And the goddess woman, they're probably either a lot of, well, I don't know. I'm not going to say what your audience is like, but I work typically with chill women and goddess women because they're typically the ones that want to see growth in their next level. The goddess woman is super confused by love, really confused. She's very into personal growth and personal fulfillment. Been to therapy, had coaching, has Dr. Nicole LePera's How to Do the Workbook or all of her books, Yeah. The thing with the goddess woman, and again, these archetypes aren't bad. They just are, right? So if we're thinking of it in that space, the goddess woman, again, has done a lot of work. The inconsistency with the goddess woman is that her Instagram or her TikTok or the way that she presents herself to her friends and her family, her outward perception is very, very different than how she feels on the inside about her relationships, her dating experience, and her relationship to herself. So there's an incongruency between her outward perception and then what's happening inside of her. She thinks that she wants to be in the dating world, but there's this weird like push-pull energy that she just doesn't understand. Like she wants it, but she hates it. She, like this kind of dance that she notices inside of herself, kind of vacillating probably between chill and fortress, chill and fortress, chill and fortress. She does feel like when she's out there dating that her need and who she is, because she is a strong woman, she's hyper independent, that it can be intimidating. It's intimidating to a lot of the men that she attracts. Like she wants a conscious relationship. She's written out all of the little things that she wants on her soulmate list, and she's written a letter to her soulmate. And the people that she's attracting, she tends to be their teacher or her coach or their coach and not their lover because she knows a lot. She's been there. She's done the work. And she feels a lot of times that she is quote unquote better than the men she attracts, right? So she's looking for up-leveled people. So the goddess woman is the hardest last step in the process, in my opinion, because the goddess woman knows that she deserves love. She thinks that she has self-love, but her behaviors and her thoughts do not line up with what she knows in her head. Like her actions don't line up. And for her, the last points of healing for the goddess woman are all about perfectionism and control. So there are things happening inside of herself and based off of the things that have happened to her in the past, that her parts that are very into perfectionism, into control, there needs to be a rearrangement and a new relationship with those parts, or those parts are really kind of showing up in her dating life. Does that make sense?
Oh my God. As you're talking, I was like, she's so fucking good. Like, you're so smart. I shouldn't have said that.
Thank you. I love it. No, thank you. I appreciate it.
I love it because I love the imagery that you're creating, because I know it's landing with someone and they're pulling over on the side of the road going, oh my God, it's me.
Stop seeing me so bad.
And that's a good thing, because I want people to feel seen and heard and understood. Right. Mm-hmm. So for those of you pulling over on the side of the road saying, oh my God, it's me, you're welcome. Like, we've got you.
We got you. Yeah.
There's someone that understands you. That's kind of what I want to say. Okay. How many types are there? We've gone over.
We got the last one. There's just the last one.
Okay.
The last one is the magnetic woman. And the magnetic woman is the woman that I strive to be in my life. At least I give myself 80%. Like, I can fuck up 20% and be loving and kind to myself. But when I start to go into the below that realm, then I know I got some work to do. You know, it's just my next level personally. So the magnetic woman knows who she is and what she wants. She honors herself by sticking to and setting dating boundaries or boundaries in general. And this is, again, we're talking about everything. We're talking about money, job, family, all of the things. She is loving and caring of herself when she messes up. So that's the opposite of the goddess woman, right? Like, the goddess woman is really, there's an inner critic inside of her that just goes crazy. The magnetic woman's internal worth and magnetism has moved from her head to her body. So that's where we're talking about somatics. Her behaviors line up with what she knows to be true, which is huge, like massive. She knows obviously how to receive love deeply, receive help, receive support. She knows how to ask for what she wants. The thing about the magnetic woman from where I sit is that when she asks for what she wants, the result is okay either way, whether she gets it or she doesn't, right? And that is like the definition of secure attachment from where
why is it okay for that person either way?
Well, if we're talking about really deep, which I believe that we do here.
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. When you speak up for and set your boundaries or ask for a request or say what you desire, what you are really doing is you're speaking up for those parts of yourself that have never been safe, they have never been seen, they have never been heard, and they have never been understood. So just the act of putting it out there, what it is that you request, at least in my experience and my client's experience, is enough, because it's a disconfirming experience for those parts that you never received from your parents, that you've never received from your partners, and that you have never received of yourself.
Damn. Guys, who's listening to this and is not saying, oh my God, I know someone is listening. Everyone that's listening is connecting with a type. That's my point. I've connected with 3. It's interesting. In my personal relationships with boyfriends, husband, whatever, I have been the chill woman. That was my 20s. That was my teens and 20s, right? I've been the goddess woman. That was my 30s and 40s. And in my late 40s and early 50s, I am now the magnetic woman. I've never been the fortress woman, but I have been, and I often continue to be, the fortress woman with my parents. So is it fair to say that you can be a different archetype in different relationship types?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because the definition of parts in each internal family systems is that each part, this is crazy and it's getting deep, but each part has its own internal ecosystem, belief system, emotional system. And so absolutely that makes a ton of sense. And it's probably, you know, obviously I have I'm the same way with my parents. My parents don't even know who I am or don't care to, right? So there are certain parts of me that do need to come up and protect myself. But now what's really beautiful when we start to identify, this is like really, really deep in the healing work. This is like level 3 or level 4. But when we start to identify the different parts of us, those parts of us, and especially if they're protecting us from something, can hold hands with our highest self instead of just acting alone, which is, you know, for the fortress woman, very, you know, obviously very protective mechanism, but also very isolating as well.
And okay, so we're going to talk parts here for a second, guys. Mm-hmm. So you have these different parts. Let's just get high level with people who haven't heard the other episode or haven't listened to some of my episodes about parts work. So the idea behind parts is high level here. When we're born, we're all connected to self securely, inherently, innately. We have a soul, we have a core, we have an essence, and it's who we are. And we're completely connected and aligned to it. And we are just happy with it. Mm-hmm. And then as we start to get older, you could be an hour old, a day old, 10 years old. We start to observe our environment. And if very specific needs are not met, our most fundamental needs, food, water, shelter, cleanliness, but most importantly, connection,